So this video is essentially a wrap-up video. I'm selling my Autel Nano. It is officially getting shipped out this morning, but I figured why not do some wrapping thoughts on this Nano Plus. I'm glad that I actually had the opportunity to fly it and spend some time with it and really push it through its paces, which I believe I kind of did. I mean, I flew in the city in an urban environment at night. I flew at altitude, I flew in winds, I flew at night in winds, I even flew last night getting some shots of my friend who has a piece of metal sculpture in town, and I flew this little piece on Earth Bridge. Basically, it was pitch black out for the most part, minus the lights that are lighting up the sign, and it does pretty darn well at night. So video-wise, its strength is video at night and low light. I would say that's the unique feature of this 249-gram drone, as opposed to a Mini 2, for example. The Mini 2 will fly better, but at the same time, this ideally will fly similarly once the firmware updates release some stuff. Because right now, there's no gimbal smoothness setting. I'm gonna show you right now, I'm gonna put a little screen recording that I had yesterday when I was flying. If you set in the Sky app the gimbal speed to 0, it still moves too quickly. And then that paired with no smoothness setting really is not good. And it's kind of strange because with the EVO 2 Pro series, they did one of the firmware updates, and actually you have to keep it really high in order to keep it manageable. If you keep it at 3 or 5 or 7, the gimbal won't even move basically. So I have to keep my EVO 2 Pros, I think in the Autel Explorer app, set to like 50, some really high number for a gimbal setting for cinematic flying. So it's really strange. And then this at 0 is still moving, as you can see in the video, pretty quickly. So they need to fine tune some of those gimbal speed settings. I don't know why they can't get that sorted with the app so they're consistent. That would really be nice. They need to add a gimbal smoothness sensitivity setting like the Fly app did, add EXP settings. So that would be nice to be able to actually have that much more control like we can with the Fly app. The still images, there definitely needs to be some love with the firmware update, something to address the raw color cast. I'm gonna do a video on that soon, maybe even later on the night, because that's an easier screen recording kind of video, showing how to get past it. Essentially, all you need to do is take your file, your raw file from the Nano series drones, I believe it's with the Lite as well, and bring it into Photoshop or Camera Raw plugin, whether it's Lightroom or Photoshop, and play with the hue sliders and just kind of start with the yellow and play with the hue and shift it a little bit. And then if that doesn't work, just keep on working through the different hues to get it to where it should be. And then you could start correcting your image. But this isn't that tutorial, but it's essentially not a huge deal if you kind of know what you're doing, but it's definitely not fun and it shouldn't be the way. So I'm hoping they address that quickly. A few little things that are really annoying. There's a gimbal self-check that always seems to happen. It always wants to calibrate the drone. So you got the gimbal self-check always happening. It always seems like it wants to prevent you from taking off, which is pretty frustrating. So you got the gimbal self-check, as I said. It wants you to calibrate the drone. Sometimes I've had this thing kind of toilet bowls, or it's just kind of circling around and not hovering in place. I don't have a lot of confidence with this drone. So I would, if I were you and I'm flying a Nano or a Nano Plus, I would definitely pay attention to it at all times. Don't just think you're gonna launch it, get it in the air, and it's just gonna sit there, because there's a good chance it may move on you. Yesterday it almost hit a tree. It was kind of like starting to kind of blow away while I was trying to take a picture of the controller with the drone. It just started to move on me. So it seems like it has a hard time sometimes locking GPS, and just be mindful of that. It's probably still newer stages, of course, than say the Mini 2, and they all have their own nuances. So you have to figure that out and really spend some time flying. But the still pictures, if I were shooting, I would be shooting JPEG plus RAW. I would honestly be working the RAW and start to figure out how to work around that little color cast for the moment. They are a better file than the JPEGs, and they are a better file than that 50 megapixel JPEG. So there's that. We got, with the premium bundle, we have 3 batteries, 1 in the drone. So the batteries are similar to a Mini 2. They last decently, you know, they're not like the, probably similar to the Mini 2. I'm hoping the Mini 3 will have a longer life battery. I think they will, and that will be a huge thing. If they could somehow tweak it to 35 minutes or something, I'm not sure. But regardless, 2 batteries, the remote. In regards to the remote for the EVO Lite and Nanos, it's pretty good. I really don't have any complaints. It feels good in the hands. I would like to see this tilt and be able to move a little bit, but my friend over at Skyfire Aerial made this little rig, and it may seem kind of complex, but it's really not. All you do, you get this piece and you essentially take one little screw out and it goes right onto here. Oop, let me kind of get it going. Boom. So now we have this, again, one little screw, no need for tools, but this is a nice accessory for this remote. So if you do have one of these drones, this is a definite nice, I'll leave a link in the description below, but Skyfire Aerial, and then you can go ahead and whoop, pivot the phone, do whatever you want. You can make all kinds of little adjustments with ease, and it really is a nice addition and a very simple addition to this remote controller. So there's that. So Skyfire Aerial for the win to help improve upon this controller. It even has a little area for those who are kind of concerned with the sticks. There's a little place for the sticks, but the only thing with that now, if you have the sticks in there, this is going to obviously be another piece, so it may not fit in the bag, but you can figure that out. It takes a little adjustment depending on what you want to rock. So that's it. But the remote, good. The app, again, is probably where it needs the most improvement. So let me get this stick back on. As a photographer, there's no histogram. So histogram is crucial to shooting still pictures. So Autel, you need a histogram. You need a gimbal smoothness setting for each mode, ideally. You need to improve and change and tweak your gimbal speed setting, because that's all weird. It's way too fast for even when it's at 0. So fix that. Ideally, you sort out this whole gimbal self-check, the whole pre-flight thing, because it really is frustrating to just get this in the air sometimes. It's like you don't know what secret handshake to do. But I would say keep it on the ground. Ideally, do a calibration every flight just to make sure you don't get that toilet bowl kind of effect where it's hovering around and moving, because I've had that happen to me probably half a dozen times. So go ahead and get away from any kind of metal or your car, calibrate it, put it on the ground, and let it do its thing. So, but the app, again, histogram, gimbal, EXP settings. One other thing, sometimes when you go ahead and hide everything on the screen, I personally don't love the way you change exposure. A lot of times I'll go ahead and flip and flick my finger, and we'll go ahead and hit the toggle wheel and change my exposure drastically. So not really too keen on the way you change your exposure. Personally, I think it could be better and a little bit nicer, but regardless, that's one thing. What else is there? So they definitely need to add, as I said, smoothness settings and all of the stuff to have better flight performance that will really improve upon the drone so we can fly it a little bit more similarly. That's a hard word to say, as possibly the Mini 2. I think we all know that is a really nice, fun, well-flying drone. But even when I was flying this yesterday at night, it just didn't give me a ton of confidence. And that's kind of an issue. And one other thing too that I kind of addressed a little bit, if you're going to use a strobe like these Firehouse strobes, which I recommend highly, I can put a link in the description below for those guys too. If you put it where it should be, where it's balanced on the drone, this is essentially covering the GPS module. So Autel told me this is not the place to put it. I tried it one night and it really did not lock into GPS well at all. So I do believe it greatly affects your GPS lock. So I would avoid putting it there. Now, if you put it at the back, Maybe you can get away with it. Maybe you can get away with it at the front or something, or on the side. I don't know. But the bottom line is Autel said they wouldn't put anything on the top of this drone, which is kind of not a great thing to hear when you want to fly this at night legally, because it is where it kind of shines at night. So that's kind of a little issue. So just be conscious of that for you guys who have the Nano series drones. Be aware that your module for a GPS is literally right here in the front. So dead center, essentially right in front of the Autel little imprint on the drone. So that's one little thing to take into consideration. Autel Care, if you guys are buying this, I would suggest highly to spend $79, I believe it is, or maybe it's $179. I'm not sure. I think it's $79 for the Nano. And go ahead and get it. You'll get 1 year of coverage. They don't currently have 2 years. I'm hoping they implement that sometime soon where you can actually renew your Autel Care, but they don't. They don't offer it on the Enterprise for drones either. And you get 2 replacements with that. So I actually clipped a tree. Here, hold on a second. We got Simon wanting to do a cameo. So what's up, Simon? He wants to go and say hello and check out all the cool drones. Right, Simon? Good boy. But Autel Care, I used one of them. Here, come on. This drone is sold. You can't be scratchy scratch. Come on. He's got a plant to eat, I think, anyway. So, but I used one of the Autel Cares when I clipped a tree. It went into the snow and fried the drone. And they sent me out another one, and they actually sent me another controller as well for the $79 first replacement. So now there's 1 replacement left. So it was a long, slow process for whatever reason, but I think Autel was really backed up in their support. It took almost a month, which is not the norm. It normally should take 10 to 14 days for them to turn around an Autel Care replacement. So just be mindful of that and aware of that. But I think everyone's having a hard time right now. Hopefully it's easing up and things kind of chill out with this whole entire world. But that's a whole other video. So I think that's pretty much it. It's a great drone. It needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of work in the flight characteristics and performance. It's not really awesome flying drone. That's just my honest input. The low light video is great. This is a better video drone than the still side of things, but at the same time, I got some shots, at least in the city, that were really pretty impressive. I took another one a couple days ago. I'll post a picture right now. This is from Millennium Park, but as you see, it looks pretty darn good. This was a RAW that I had to tweak with the color, but it actually ended up looking like a really nice file. So pretty impressive, and there's a part of me that doesn't want to sell this and just kind of keep it, but I have other drones that I rather fly for now that I know are a little bit more established. I feel like I beta tested this guy enough to get my fix and let someone else kind of play with it. So I'll pass this on to someone else, sending it out today, this morning, and it's pretty cool. So let it carry on to someone else and they'll be able to fly and enjoy. But even to the person buying this drone, just take your time with it. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, little things that you'd probably want to know. Here, let me see. So take off this guy, which is not even needed, in my opinion, with the hard case. The props, for some reason, feel a little bit flimsier than the Mini 2 in a way, but whatever, they're fine. Take off the gimbal cover. Boom. Always. Oh, it's kind of a weird gimbal cover. There we go. The camera always kind of dips down, so that is normal, but it makes it a little challenging getting on the gimbal cover. So what you have to do is kind of push up a little bit and just try to catch it when it's in the upward position. It's a weird little thing, but as you put it on, you got to pay attention and make sure the lens is going upward and not downward. And boom, that's it. So quick little snap, not a big deal, but that's that. So this drone is going to be for essentially anyone, in my opinion, wanting to experience Autel for the first time. I wouldn't probably go with the Nano. I'd go with the Nano Plus, as I said in a couple other instances, I don't think they should have had a Nano and a Nano Plus and a Lite and a Lite Plus. I think they should have had the Nano Plus and the Lite Plus and made it just very simplistic. So we don't have so many options and color options. It just seems to be a little too much. But regardless of that, this drone does not have geofencing. So for anyone who has never experienced a drone without geofencing, this is going to be a very cool thing for you because it just is easier. Of course, you still have to pay attention, get aloft or air map or, you know, before you fly, whatever, something to make sure you're checking your airspace. That doesn't mean you can just go ahead and launch at an airport, but the no geofencing thing is very handy and very cool. And that's a huge pro for this drone. The sensor is definitely a pro for shooting in low light at night. And the flight characteristics and the way it flies is a con. Some of the gimbal self-check and just to get this thing up in the air is a con. The wind resistance is definitely not a great thing. So this does not handle as well in the wind. It definitely handles. It didn't do horribly, but I felt more confident with my Mini 2 than I did with this. And also, as I said, flying at night, I don't know where to put this guy. Maybe you would put it up here in the back. I don't know. I mean, maybe you just put it on the side, figure it out, test it out, but little stuff. But some of the stuff that I think is more important, as I said, we covered. And that's it, guys. A little ramble right now about my Nano Plus before it leaves. A little bit sad, but at the same time, drone on and got a Mavic 3 that I got to fly and test out a little bit and see what that's about again. So until next time, subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, and if you haven't, hit the notification bell. This channel is about drones primarily, photography, and all kinds of stuff regarding that. Once in a while, a caregiving tip or video to help out since I'm on that journey too with my elderly mom who's 87 with dementia. So that's it, guys. Have a beautiful day and have a good weekend. Aloha. And I may be in Hawaii next week, so woo.